good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland here, Executive Director, Oakland Correctional Professionals, along with Representative J.J. Humphrey. And J.J., I read something. I'm going to read it to you. I just started off with this. I'm going to throw a curveball to you. But I want you to, I'd like to have your comment on it because I thought I'll just let you make the comment.
I'm all ears, Bob.
It says the Oklahoma Department of Corrections, big news for Lawton. At 9:30 a.m. today, the Oklahoma Department of Corrections officially took ownership of the Lawton Correctional and Rehabilitation Facility, now Red Rock Correctional Center. This $312 million purchase marks the end of private prison contracts in Oklahoma and brings all correctional operations under public oversight for the first time. This is the third for-profit prison I've closed. This is the governor here. I've closed since becoming governor, said Governor Stitt. Now we get to bring that second chance mindset to those in custody in Lawton. Director Stephen Harpe added, I'm excited to bring ODOC's mission and vision for rehabilitation and changing the lives of men at the facility. They're changing lives to the man. Wait a minute, let me read that again. Director Stephen Harpe added, I'm excited to bring ODOC's mission and vision for rehabilitation and changing lives to the men at the facility. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, Bob, I wrote down several points that you were making while you were reading that. And the first thing is when the governor says we closed three, now it's possible that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I can only remember two. We've had Hodeville and Lawton. What was the third one that was a private prison? I mean, we had Sayre, but that was rented. We were renting the facility. It wasn't private. That was us renting a facility. So what third prison is he talking about?
Well, Allen Gamble, isn't that private?
That's one, and then you got Lawton, that's two. But what third one? I don't know the third one.
I don't know.
I mean, we right now we quit leasing. Out there at Sayre, what was that one called? I can't even remember what that was called. Anyways, we moved all them inmates to Hinton, so we got them at the Great Plains right now.
Well, what about the one? The closest one to me. What was that one that? I went up there when they had that open house, or they announced it, and someone got stabbed that day that they were there.
That's Allen Gamble. That's at Hodeville.
That's okay. Yeah, I was
that. In fact, what makes that ironic, Bob, is they were naming it after an officer who got stabbed, and then while they're naming it after this guy got stabbed, they had another stabbing of an officer. You can't make that stuff up. But again,
what's your thought that we now bring that second chance mindset to those in custody in law?
That was what I wrote. That was another thing I wrote down. Second chance. What second chance? And then the director coming on. Oh, we're doing the rehabilitative, and we're creating an environment that people can blossom and grow. Golly, what world are they living in? This is what gets me, Bob, how the governor and the director can go out and tell a flat, lack of a better word, flat ass lie. And nobody calls them on it. Nobody knows any different. Second chance, where these guys get second chance? Hey, if they get to live, you know what, Bob, if you make it out without being raped, extorted, and murdered, you know what I'm saying? Stabbed, beaten, then guess what? You're pretty lucky. If you get out alive, there's your second chance. What are they doing?
Now we bring that second chance mindset to those in custody in Lawton. Another article.
I don't know what the governor has no idea. He's listening to Harpe, and he has zero idea what's going on. Although it's ignorance, it's willful ignorance, Bob, because he's got family members. I get told all the time family members are calling and telling him. I know people that's called him on situations that are terrible, and he ignores it. He doesn't pay any attention, doesn't get back with anybody, doesn't do anything. And then he's got Harpe sitting here. Everything is great. Everything is fine.
Well, he writes a good piece to how a good sounding piece. It sounds good from what he writes, but he doesn't do or articulate or actually do what he says.
Well, I tell you, Bob, he's a full blown, and again, we're not trying to get political here. We're not, you know what I'm saying? We're not trying to make this a political issue. As far as Democrat, Republican, it ought to be an issue that every one of us are concerned about. But man, they're like the Democrats because they say what they people want to hear. They sound pretty. Oh, we're going to have a rehabilitative. Oh, we're giving them second chances. Well, what are they doing? Give me, Bob. We used to have programs when I worked in there. Man, we had keys to life.
Yeah, we've dropped a lot of programs because we don't have the money.
Oh, we had all kinds of programs. The technology, centers in there were booming. Man, we had,
what do you think about them forcing? I mean, forcing. I'm talking forcing. Might as well put a gun to them to go work at some of these prisons. If they don't do it, they're fired.
Well, Bob, if you remember about 3 weeks ago, or even maybe last week, we were talking about that there's no way that I would like to know how many of the staff left. I'd like to know how many of the staff at Red Rock, when it was private, how many stayed to stay at the state level. And then if they did have a massive amount of staff leave, guess what? They're in trouble because we are, Bob, I was told, I don't know if you heard this. I may have heard it from you. I can't remember. You know, they're combining Jackie Brand and OSP. Why are they doing that, Bob? Why are they combining them?
Well, they're short-handed over at OSP because everybody's been a number of people quit. Not everybody's quit, obviously, but there's been a number of people quit. And then they're taking people from Jackie Brennan, and they told them they have to go over there to work at OSP or they get fired.
Well, so again, it's all it's a shortage issue. You had a shortage going on at OSP because they can't get people to go to work. The reason they can't get people to go to work is the way they treat people, and it's what they're doing. And everybody in McAllister's heard that. So guess what? They don't come out. We're used to, Bob, when I was working there, you almost had to go get a politician to get you hired. You couldn't get on. I mean, you had to beg a job to get down there. I mean, it was tough to get on. Everybody wanted that job. Now you can't get anybody on because of management, because the way they treat you, because what they do. Now they got people quitting because guess what? It's dangerous. It's getting dangerous in there.
Well, JJ, I heard this. I don't know if it's correct or not. That they brought in 6, I think, new people, new hires.
7.
Yet they fired 5.
They had 7. If I did my math, 7, and I knew of 5 or 6 that they fired. That we knew of 5 or 6.
But 6 of it now.
So the deal is, you know what I'm saying? You had a net gain of 1. That ain't going. That ain't getting.
Let's talk about firing people. Now you take a look at what I've been looking at this, trying to figure what in the world are they doing, because they firing people for something that usually you just talk to them about it. It's something that it's not even a big deal of what they're doing. Of course, count is a big deal, but when you're having to do 3 to 4 different jobs and do the count, then you have to do. If you don't do the count, then they get on to you because you didn't do this over here, or it's just a total mess.
Damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you don't do what they told you to do, you're fired. If you don't do your count, you're fired. If you don't do all this, and if you aren't 4 people in one, then guess what? You're fired because you're not doing what we used to have 4 people doing.
And some of these people have never had a discipline issue, never had a problem, and they don't follow their own policy. But let's look at it though. When I got to look at it, and I made a little chart up how many people had been fired that had 15 to 20 years in. and they're way over that than the one that's just been there a year or 2 years or 3 years. They're
Right.
taking these long term, and I'm wondering if the reason they're doing that because that long term person's got built up making pretty good money, but they can go back and hire somebody now at a whole lot less money.
Bob, it's cheaper. And second, a long-term employee, when they go to cutting all these ops and they go cutting, how many people can be because they have a master roster that says where people are going to be. See, how do you do away with towers? But guess what? Nobody holds them accountable to that. But guess what? They do away with towers. How do you do away with perimeter? Guess what? Nobody holds them accountable. Now we see no towers, no perimeter. Now we have more dope coming in. Now we have more problems. Now we don't have as many people to take care of the problem. And then they want to blame the guy that's trying to take care of all of it. And they want to blame him and fire him. And again, it may be because of that. It may be because they don't want him getting the full retirement. And I suspect it's a whole lot because they know what's right and wrong. And they can say, hey, by policy this. And they don't want those people around. They want people who are going to do what they tell them to do, right, wrong. And then if something messes up, guess what? They'll hold them accountable because they're supposed to do that.
But you take somebody that's got 15 or 19 years, they know how important the county is. I mean, they've been doing it all these years. They know how, that's probably one of the most important jobs you really do is the count to make sure that's right. So but how can all of a sudden, all of these guys that's got these long-term people are missing count? And this is a new one on me. But they
think
just
about this, Bob. Think about this. Remember the old boy got stabbed down there in Lawton numerous times, got his neck stabbed.
Yeah.
Okay. He was gone for at least 8 hours, maybe longer. Okay. Now he's stuffed in a can for 8 hours. What's that tell you?
Tell you they wouldn't do count.
They didn't do count. Now, how many people got fired on that? You never heard. Got a guy that was tied up for. Now, I was told 12 hours, but then I had a witness come and actually made an affidavit to this. By the way, Director Harpe, we have people making affidavits when they come tell us so we get it down. But they said that the guy was only tied up 6 hours in gang rape. So he was only tied up 6 hours, but they were burning his bottom of his feet with cigarettes. But now, again, 6 hours, was anybody counting during that period of time? Probably not.
Well, the pictures we've seen of inmates who have been brutally beaten. We've seen some awful, awful, awful pictures of how bad they beat these people up. And you can't beat somebody like that, break every bone in his face and do that in 5 minutes.
No, and here's the deal. In a time period of where you're having breakfast, you're having lunch, you're serving trays, you're supposed to give a tray to each inmate. How do you give a tray to each inmate when that sucker's rigor mortis set in? Guess what? That tells you you're not doing your counts. Or if you're doing them, you're not doing them correctly. And so, again, did you see anybody get fired over that? No. So why is it all of a sudden? And Bob, I'll tell you another problem that I've got. And this is why everybody is leaving it. And what started our conversation here, just see if you heard this. I heard 3 people were quitting at OSP last week and 11 at Branham. Have you heard that?
I think it was just the opposite.
You're saying
at OSP and the ones at Brandon, I know there's a number of them quit with all in a few days, but then they also had some that were given their notice that were there that were going to quit. But speaking of that, at Lawton, when we took it over, what was it, last week, I guess?
Right.
Now, you probably know more about this than I do because you're closer to it. But I heard there was the ambulances making runs there that day we took it over, and several days later, just
Bob, constant. I heard, they had more assaults than cowboy hats at a rodeo. I mean, it was like, hey, 5 one day and 8 the next or so. I was trying to keep up with it. The problem is, Bob, used to you could have checked that. You could have confirmed that. Now you can't confirm it because they so are blatantly, they don't care about the open records. They don't care about what they're required. They're above the law. They're above.
They care. They care enough to hide it so you don't know it.
Well,
what
yeah,
they're doing.
But they're willing to
We're telling the truth,
law,
and they're the ones that are liars.
But if they're having that kind of problem there, that tells you they're short-handed. If you're having, let's say that my report was right, and they're having anywhere from 8 or 11 to quit at Branham and OSP, well, they're already short-handed. That's why they're trying to combine them. Now that number of people leave, they're in a well of a mess. Now who are we gonna pull? Because guess what, Bob? You had Northeastern have a death. You never hear of a death at Northeastern. You had McAlford had a stabbing. Again, McAlford is a medium, and they can have stuff, but you don't hear a lot of stuff from there. You got problems all over. You're hearing of these institutions. Hamilton had a guy beat up 2 or 3 weeks ago to death. You're seeing stabbings. You're seeing Lexington. You're seeing Harpe. Dick Connors had another a walk away. That's quite funny, Bob. How do you not hear of that? And that'll tell you something. That'll tell you something, Bob. When you don't hear
one walk away, and he hasn't. Obviously, he hasn't came back. They don't know where he's at or haven't found him. I hadn't heard a thing about being found. Have you?
No, but here's how my mind works, Bob. You got these stabbings, you got extortion, you got rape going on out of control. And we all know that. That's not a thing. We all know that. Okay. Why? Because when I worked, you know what the big deal was? Escapes. People run off. They get a Dear John letter. They get threatened on the yard. They run off. How is it possible with less staff, with more threats, with more danger, that you hardly ever hear of? You don't hear at all. This walkway is the first one we've heard of since when, Bob? I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah. Hey, JJ, let me ask you a question. If you heard this one, I didn't know you was down there. If you heard this one, somebody in the kitchen got caught, a female with a male officer screwing. They was having sex.
Right.
Hey, did you hear about that?
Yeah, they walked him off the yard. What I heard, that was a down and gamble.
What did they walk him off the yard do? They just get her.
I
think there's been 2 of them like that.
Here's the question, Bob, and they might do it and be interested to see when they do it. But they may go back and charge rape on her, maybe not. But that's rape, and that's what we've yelled and screamed about. They don't file on any of these people. They just walk them out. So guess what? La-di-da, big deal. If you get caught, you lose your job. Okay, no big deal. It's rape. Are they filing rape? And if they did file rape, when did they file it? Did they file it?
Yeah, and JJ, here's a problem. The way I look at it is, they have got so many problems at the facilities. The DA can't keep all their cases. He couldn't keep up with it, and
well,
keep up with everything.
You take somebody that dies, okay? Let's say a murder. They send it to the medical examiner. Hey, it may take the medical examiner 6 months to a year to get those results back.
Yeah.
Do you think DOC is going to come back and work that in a year? Do you think the DAs are going to work that? So guess what? You have all of these murders being covered up. You know what I'm saying? Big deal, big deal. And the problem is, Bob, and now people may think I'm tooting our horn a little bit, and maybe I am. I don't know. But I think we have done such a good job of putting all of this out. For the last 3 years, we've been putting it out. And now the media is not really interested it even, you know what I'm saying? You could go out.
Every day did. Well, it's really sad though that the public itself is not interested. Now, hey, there's some bad guys in prison that need to be there, but
Absolutely.
they're not all that bad. They're not all killers, rapists, child molesters. But you know, we should be when we put somebody in prison, we should be trying to help them rehabilitate them. We're not doing that.
Bob,
And
you're not even
go to
doing it.
prison, and then crap, they kill her. They kill a group
Well,
of them.
here's the deal. First, and they used to have a motto that was awesome. First thing is you got to make sure you keep people there, protect the public. That's what they're there. They're there to get them out of the public. They've done something. Now again, our court system is shaky on a lot of this stuff. So now I'm kind of like looking at every case. But again, like you said, there's people that need to be in. They don't need to be in society, and our job is to keep them there. Second is to keep our employees safe. Now, here's what's funny. If you have a safe environment for employees, then you have a safe environment for inmates. And then our last job is to protect the inmate. And again, when you have a safe environment, then you can do other things. Then you can do the technology centers. Here's the thing. If you get a guy skilled in labor, and you get him a payable job, a livable wage, he's 66% less likely to return to prison. That's pretty well known fact.
Right.
Now, why are we not training these people? I mean, that's over half would not come back if we would train them and get them a livable wage. If we're training them, they don't have time to be down there being knuckleheads, tearing our facility up and killing each other, doing dope, figuring out some way to get more dope and more drugs and contraband in. Put them to work. Put them to work. We used to have highway crews.
Well, they can't do that now because they don't have enough people. I mean, they
But
don't even
exactly, that's the manpower. It's the whole issue behind the whole thing.
Well, now I've heard too that in some of these prisons, and I haven't heard this in all of them, like I've heard it recently, but the inmates are scared. You know, our officers are afraid because of the way they're doing things at OSP, and you know they're worried about that. Didn't hear a thing about that inmate that got stabbed, but by he pushing a officer down so we couldn't stab him. I hadn't heard a thing about that. Have you?
No, I hadn't heard anything. I mean, I would be, if I was in there, I would be acknowledging that inmate in some way or fashion to whether he's dead or I didn't hear whether he died or whether he lived, but whether he died or whether he lived, I would acknowledge that inmate's action.
Well, you about have to let the guy out because then he's got a spot on his back, you know, who he is.
Well, I'd make sure he's taken care of. I can promise you that. If he saved one of them officers,
Right.
make sure that he.
But you know, I'm just hearing that officers are afraid to go to OSP. The officers at OSP, they're afraid because they brought the rules, made it easier for the inmates. Which you know, in some cases it's good, some cases it's bad. They used to shackle them up. I've seen them shackle them up when they marched them to either the yard or the dinner.
Right.
And
but the reason they don't do that, Bob, they don't have the manpower. It all goes back to manpower. When you're short, you know, you don't have two people to go down there and hook them up, lock them up, take them back. We're short. Just open the door, get your butt down there. Let's go. And that works most of the time. It does speed things up. It's a whole lot easier. The only problem is when you get a guy that comes out with the shank, it tends to make for a bad day, and it can kill people. And people.
Now, JJ, if you're in there on a certain crime, you don't go to have lunch. You don't go to you have trays are brought to your cell. Is that correct?
Right. You're locked down. You get
but
a yard break and a shower break.
I was going to ask you that. Okay, so for going to the shower and going to the yard, they don't handcuff them anymore. Now, is that because they don't have enough time to do that, so they don't do it? It's not taking into consideration the life of the officer.
That's what it'll be about if they just don't have the manpower, Bob. If everything's working good and everything's working smooth, nobody changes nothing. It's when you don't have the manpower, and now they're saying, well, you got 100 people that you got to get out to shower and go to the yard. Well, by the time you put handcuffs on them, put your hands through this door, you put a deal through there. All right, back up. Now you put your leg irons on them. Now you head down here. Now you got to stick it all, go right to reverse. Guess what? That takes a lot of time. If I can say step out, go walk down there, get in that door and shut it, you know what? I'd say probably a good 5-10 minutes on each inmate. I don't know how quick they can cuff them, uncuff them, but say 5 or 10 minutes. Well, guess what? On 100 people, that's a lot of time. On 6 people, you just gained an hour. So every 6 people, you're gaining an hour if it takes 10 minutes. It don't take very long to figure out, hey, we can cut down on the number of officers we need by doing this. The only problem, like I say, that's all good and fine until somebody kills somebody. And then it's like, oh, well, okay, that's just part. Oh, you're just working in prison. Oh, that's just part of being in prison. No, that's part of a mismanaged prison. It's mismanaged because you don't have the help. You need more people.
Hey, here's something I've heard several times, that HR are telling people when they go there, they want to join OCP. They say, "Oh, you no longer can do that. We don't do withhold any holdings, so you can't join."
Well, Bob, there's several things that I've been really troubled about, like that they're telling. And of course, we've had people tell us. Recently, we had people tell us that HR is telling people they can't join OCP. 2 or 3 months ago, Bob, I had a lady tell me that Mr. Harpe sat in front of a classroom and threatened people if they joined OCP.
Yeah.
And so if you have a director threatening you and you have a HR that's saying he said nobody can get in this, hey, we need to know that. Y'all need to let us know that. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
I got one for you. In some of these prisons, they don't have enough toilet paper. Now that is totally ridiculous. And they're out of them at the warehouse or someplace. Now this just floors me that this is happening.
Well, Bob, those are the kind of things that people don't think about. Bob, when you go to putting out bad food, when you go to putting out no food, limited food, when you go to taking away the essentials, it's toilet paper, toothpaste, these things that people got to have. You know what I'm saying? When you go to taking away the essentials, you can get away with that for a minute or two, but after a while, you're going to see that begins to cause real problems in penitentiary as well.
Well, that could be I think that would be a big real problem.
I'll tell you what I got a problem with, Bob, that I was going to say, other than I hope everybody will listen to us and join OCP. That's the way you fight this stuff, is join OCP. We have a way now that you don't have to go through the department if you don't want them to know that you're in this. Also, if you've been told that you can't join it or you've been threatened, help us, let us know, because again, we can file a lawsuit. But I'll tell you the big thing that, Bob, we need to talk to officers on, and that we need to be talking about how to file a lawsuit or how to challenge these, is these officers are being retaliated against or being fired or being held accountable off of information off of their body cams. So, like, if a guy
This is exactly the thing they said they wasn't going to do.
Yeah,
they sit in their office there and go read their body cam. Oh, he said this, he said that, or he did this, and then they bring them in. But here's the thing: what I found out is when you get fired, the warden calls you in and tells you you're getting fired. He doesn't give you a chance to say this didn't happen, I did this. He won't listen to you. He cuts it off. He doesn't want to hear it, and you're fired. And thank you, get out the door.
Right. Yeah, even if it's on body cam. So let's say your body cam shows you didn't count, but does that body cam show that chief or whoever is saying we need you to go down here and take so and so to wherever, whether it be a run or take them to DU or wherever. Okay, I'm over in DU. How is it that you expect me to count? You want me to leave the guy just hanging? Hey, you hang out right here and I'll be back in about 30 or 40 minutes. Let me run across here, go count, run back. You know what I'm saying? So again, yes, I know as an officer that counting is our one of our chief functions. I know that. But if my supervisor says go do something else, then I got to assume, and I know assume makes an ass out of you and me, but I get that. But here's the thing. I got to assume that if you're my supervisor and Bobby Cleveland tells me to go do this job, then I'm going to assume he's got somebody to do that job because that's the critical job. Or that he would wait and say, when you get done with count, then go get that guy and go do this, But again, that body cam ought to be showing the whole story, not half the story. But what they do, they go in there and just get that one piece. Oh no, oh no. Well, here's the deal.
When a guy did his count, he did his count, and they fired him because he didn't do his count, and they said they got it on film. He asked to see it. Hell, they won't show it to him. They won't show him the video. So right. Why would you not show them if you see it? Are they lying about it? Just making it up. They want to get rid of people because that saves them some money. And when it saves them money, also that it's cheaper for them to not hire anybody and pay these guys when they work overtime. And they're working guys. They're violating the law every day. They are doing this. They don't care. The governor doesn't care. They don't care what the law says. Because you cannot work 2 double overtimes in a week.
Well, Bob, they're making people at Harpe stay over because they ain't got anybody to fill in till staff can get there. Is what I'm being told. This
on medical watch, some guys have been up there 36 hours, 24 hours on medical because they don't have enough people to get somebody up there to relieve him.
Right.
And
I hadn't heard that the guy did. If I'd heard that, I forgot it. That the guy actually did count. It's on body film. He has it verified, and they won't let him use the body cam to verify that he did it. Mm-hmm. That's pretty rich.
Yep. They all of a sudden 5 people have been terminated because they didn't do the count. And these people know how to do the count. They're experienced. They know how important it is. They did the count. Now, one guy said he didn't do the count because he was told to get this paperwork done and get it out there quick as you can. So he had to finish that up. He was late with his count. But they don't take that in consideration.
Well, see, when I worked in there, they stopped everything. They'd ring a bell, stop everything, you go count. Now, guess what? And again, Bob, how many counts have they missed? And now you got a guy that they're talking about doing AI. Boy, Harpe, you better hurry up and get that AI here. That's the answer to everything. That's gonna fix everything. You better hurry up because I don't think you got time to get away.
Yeah, inmates to worry about.
Well, here's the deal. He's lower in population. There's no doubt about that. But again, and here's what's funny, Bob. This is going to be funny. I guarantee you they're going to do this. They're going to show an increase, a massive increase in officers. You know why?
Why?
Because they just brought on Red Rock. So they'll pick all those officers up from Red Rock and they'll show, oh, look how many officers we increased. We increased 200, 300 officers. Oh, yeah, but guess what? You had 2,300 inmates. And they go, nope. Those inmates were already in our count because that was their inmates there. They were just contracted.
I'm going to tell you something else you got to watch for. They put a whole bunch of mental patients into Lawton.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
All you got to do is take them guys out and put some other guys in there They won't have near the friction they've had, and then they can go and say, "Oh well, looky here, looky at what we've done. We've lowered the problems at Lawton. We're not having near the deaths. We're not having near the problems, and we've lowered it." But he didn't do it. They didn't actually lower it. They just took the mental health people out of there.
Well, if he does that, Bob, you know what? And I will give him credit for this. I think I said it last week. If you talk to the inmate families, they're talking that the money's getting moved over, that they're able to, actually get stuff on their books and stuff like that. So I will tell you this: they learned a little lesson from, Great Plains. They did such a terrible job at Great Plains and Allen Gamble that apparently they have learned a little bit, because they are getting that kind of taken care of and more going on. You know what I'm saying? It was a smoother transition in that area. Now, yes, they did have 5 ambulance row and then 8 ambulance row. I was told to kind of like one of the next days. So they do definitely have a problem. Bob, there's definitely a problem if we're going to start pulling officers out of other prisons.
Keep going. I'm gonna have to check with getting my dog. Keep going.
Bob, I don't know if I can talk all by myself.
I know you can. I can hear you.
Killing me, Bob.
That.
Bob got a new dog, by the way. So I actually picked it up for him. The whole 9 yards is what he's checking on. But anyways, guys, here's going to be the big issue. That when we started Allen Gamble and when we started Hinton, we were not in the place that we are on the shortage of officers. And when you start pulling and you start, North Fork was the prison I couldn't think of. We were sending people out to North Fork, and we were sending people to Hinton. We were sending people to Hodeville. Okay. We had more staff. It was a bind then. It was a big bind, but we had the staff better to do that at that time. Now you're getting rid of all your experienced hands. You're getting rid of all the people who know how to keep things working at your other facilities. And now you're shorthanded even more than what you were. So now you're shorthanded more. So again, how are you going to pull? And this is a larger facility. So when we're talking about pulling people for Allen Gamble, that's 1,700 inmates. You got to know, when you're talking about 20.
See, there you didn't even know I was gone.
Well, Bob, what I'm talking about, when they were pulling for Allen Gamble and when they were pulling for Hinton, we had more officers to pull from. And now you have a prison that's 23. So the difference between 1,700 inmates and 2,300 inmates is an entire prison. You're talking about a Howard McLeod prison, more inmates. So you're going to have more officers. And to pull now when we're already seeing all the problems OSP, and you got all the problems everywhere else, shorthanded, Allen Gamble is out of control. Allen Gamble is out of control. They're out of control. Now they went down there and did a search, and I heard they got a bunch of knives and shanks and all kinds of stuff, and went in on that unit where they had all the stabbings last week on the 25th or so. They had 4 or 5 stabbings down there, Bob. So they went in and did a big shakedown. And I think 13 found a whole lot of stuff. But guess what? You give it a day or two. Last time they went in and shook down, I got called and said, hey, they come and told us they were going to shake down before they did get rid of all of our stuff, hide all our stuff, so it wouldn't come back on us. Now, I don't know if they did that this time or not. But again, give it 2 days and they'll be right back. Everything going strong. So how are they going to pull officers now? And if they pull, guess what? It's going to be all over the state issues. So it's Bob. We've said for quite some time that you're destined to have a riot. I'm saying they're out of control and they're having them everywhere. You see people die all the time. But Bob, you can see the rope coming unraveled right here. You can see, Bob, I used to work on a Highline company, and you would have wire, or you would be doing something, and we would call it would start messing up. And if you could stop it, you just go, ho, ho, shut it down, shut it down. You stop right where you're at. Get away from it, walk around it. How we gonna fix this? You can fix it. But quite often people wouldn't do that. What they do is keep trying. They keep trying to fix it, keep trying to fix it, keep trying to fix it. And what you call that is swarming. It starts to swarm on you, and when it starts to swarm, you lose the whole thing. And that's what I'm seeing right now, Bob. The thing is starting to swarm on them big time. It's swarming on them. You can see it falling apart, and they're not going to step back and go, hold it. We gotta fix this. Let's bring in some people. They're not going to do it. That Harpe is too.
Hey, JJ, how many people, like an executive level, how many people there? I know we did this at one time, had experience in the prisons.
Well, Bob, I was told the top 5 people have 2 years experience. That'd be Justin Ferris, probably. I would think it's the one they're talking about on that. He's got about 2 years. Now, Justin's got experience. His whole family worked in corrections. So, I mean, he knows a lot about corrections. He's worked in OCI. So, when they're saying he doesn't have experience, he's worked in OCI. So, he's been around prisons. He knows prisons. But the rest of the bunch, guess what? You got people like Harpe. You got people like Kay. You got people like that guy that we talk about, can never remember his name, that used to be a police officer.
ICS Concrete Coatings Glover.
Hey, don't have your girlfriend call it, Bob. Bob, your girlfriend. Tell her to wait. But you got all of that going on. I'm gonna find that guy's name. I'm gonna look up that guy's name. I'll be
Sharp, not Sharp.
Sparks. Sparks.
Huh?
That's why his name is Sparks. That's why
Sparks.
I get him.
Sharp. Harpe.
I know it's close, but Spark has no.
Now he's number 2 guy, I guess. Now
no experience, and then you have Sparks, you have Harpe. So between them 2, they got 0 experience.
And you got Sharp, who actually got fired because he tried to cover up a
I don't know. It's Sharp in the top echelon.
Fired for some reason. I don't remember exactly about it now.
You got they're.
You know what? I really think that they told us they fired him, but he didn't really get fired.
No, they had a plan the whole time back in ground. That didn't last till water got hot. They were just pulling the heat off of him, and they moved him into, hey, don't worry about it. We're going to fire you, but we're going to put you right back to work, and you're going to have a better job and less headache. That's the best thing ever happened to him. Getting fired was the best thing ever happened to him. What is it? The lady that's over the budget, and I've stayed off her
Experience.
You know, I was on her bad for a long time. And, I've kind of laid off her a little bit because guess what? She's probably just doing, and you know what I'm saying? Just doing what she's told, trying to get by. I don't know. But Clemens, I think is her name. But anyways, you go right down the list of them. Hey, no experience. Kay Thompson, no experience.
Well, I would say that what's her name? What's her name was the girl that does the budget stuff?
Clemens.
Clemens, yeah. I would say she's got some experience. She maybe not been in the prison on a day-to-day, but she has a good idea of
Yeah,
what's
I
going
mean,
on.
she knows the budget. I mean, I'm not saying she doesn't have experience on the budget, but here's what I'm saying, Bob. You got a person there not knowing the job that's over the budget. You know what I'm saying? And so, we need to cut this, and they got no idea what they're talking about cutting. And something that seems like, that ain't no big deal. Let's cut some toilet paper. Well, guess what? Can turn into a huge big deal. Or let's cut some food, or let's make a contract.
Well, they can't go take toilet paper from another place because they're short there. They don't have any in the warehouse.
Well, what I'm being told by these warehouses.
I don't know how. I don't know how these inmates can send you information, but
Bob, you would be amazed at how many people I talk to, And the thing about it is, all over the state, all over the state. But here's what's funny: if you hear from these like warehouse people or people that are on that level on budgeting, they're saying they're turning in just stuff that they got to have, and they're getting told no half that, no half that stuff where they used to order like a whole month's where they would have, if something happens, then they have an extra. They're told no, you do 2 weeks or you do a week, and so they're ordering a week at a time. Well, then if something happens, guess what? You're in bad shape. And so again, it's all over the state. You got budget issues. Bob, you want me to tell you something that we have not mentioned that may be the most alarming? I was told they didn't have anybody. Now I can't believe this, and I hadn't confirmed this. Anyone at Harpe case managers. I was told that they're backed up on all the case management stuff, and they're trying to bring people in to do it. But
they're using those people as they're counting them as a officer. Hey, quit it.
Well, but bottom line, Bob, here's the problem. Here's the problem. You got, hey, listen, I'm going to make a big point right here.
Well, my dog's biting on the electric cord, and I don't want to get
let her get shot. Hey, she gets shot, she won't do it no more.
Quit it. No.
But here's the deal, Bob. If you got discharge dates like a kid that got killed at OSP, you got a kid that got killed at OSP. Guys, listen up while he chases his dog. Okay, so people at OSP, that kid got stalked to death. He was 60 days out from his discharge date. Everything you look at, everything I look at says that he should have discharged 7-5. They can say whatever they want. I've looked at it multiple times. And again, if he wasn't supposed to get out 7-5, then they're supposed to, 30 days before, they're supposed to review that. They're supposed to audit that discharge date. On 7/20, that discharge date was still 7-5. If they audited that 30 days in advance and that discharge date was wrong, they would have changed it. If they did what they're supposed to and audited that like they're required, they would have looked 30 days and said, oh, that discharge date's wrong. We got to change that. And they would have changed it. But guess what? They did. 20 days later, that guy's still in prison with the same discharge of 7-5. 60 days later, still sitting in prison with the same discharge date, which tells you there is a problem. And then when he gets killed, instead of saying date of death, they come in, hope he discharged. That's a lie. He didn't discharge. He died that day. And you're not supposed to do that until you get confirmation. You know he's dead. You know that. But you had to have something documented to close that file. You had to have a death certificate, or you had to have notification, such as one of those handouts they have at the funeral. If you had one of those, you could use that if they would approve it to close it. Now they didn't do that. And Bob, I can tell you, if you got no case managers, people are going to be missing discharge dates. That's a lawsuit all day long. That is a lawsuit. That is scary stuff. And I can't believe that you're not, if that is true, if anybody knows that, if you know that they don't have case managers at Harpe or other facilities, let us know, because that is a major problem. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Bob, speaking of lawsuits, did you tell me that one of our main ones that we have been working on, and that they fired her, and that she won, and they fired her and she won, and they keep appealing it, that they actually won again on appeal the other day, and now the Department of Corrections is going to appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court?
That's what I understand. That's what I understand. And I remember in one of the judges wrote in there to put this girl back to work immediately.
Yeah.
And they even made the comment. I don't know whether it's made as a comment or it's written or what, but it said that DLC, you're the only one that's doing this, but doing this keeps appealing, and you need to stop it. But they just want to appeal and appeal and appeal. Now they want to go to the Supreme Court. We're not going to. We're going to fight it. They think that they can bring in their $700 an hour officers, lawyers, and
Well, that's a big deal. Well, and here's what's funny, Bob. They're talking. I've got some people writing, but back on this lawyer deal. Yeah, they're going outside. I wrote the AG the other day and got it to our OCP lawyer to say, please check this, because I called and said, how many people do you have approved for DOC lawyers? I want to know the DOC lawyers that I want the cases. And so they sent me back. I sent that over to our attorney to look at so that we can compare all the cases we got to see, did they actually have permission to go outside? And the question is, Bob, if you can't defend on a, wrongful termination, then why we even got you hired? Why are we going outside and hiring outside counsel if you have a legal counsel? You already have general counsel. How much are we paying general counsel? And why is general counsel having to default to another law firm on something that's simple? And what's funny, Bob, these aren't cases you're going to try. When guys understand, when they appeal, they're not trying the case over. What they're appealing is to say something was done wrong in that process, and that they didn't get a fair trial, or that they didn't get opportunity. Well, they're the people in charge. They're the only ones can bring something in. So
one time there was the recorder wasn't working. And they asked both the lawyers, OCP and DOC lawyer, do we want to go ahead, or we want to wait till we get the recorder fixed? They both agreed to go ahead. Then the next time they lost that one, DOC did. And now they're saying, well, that what the recorder wasn't on. We need to have that one done over.
That's insane, Bob. Hey, what I got people writing me while we're talking, it's what I was looking at. And they're saying not only, because we're talking about the shortage of staff, we're talking about the ambulance runs and all of that, but that's what they're saying. That's something we didn't bring up. And the person writing me is correct, absolutely correct. I appreciate everybody who writes in and tells us this stuff. But what they're saying, Bob, is that when you have those medical runs, that you got to send people with it. You don't even have enough people to run your prison, and now you have 7 or 8 medical runs. You got to send people with them. Well, guess what? Then that becomes problematic as well, because people are having to go stay at the hospital. And so again, this is a massive problem. So you can see how all of a sudden, when you start having all these one problems, result in another problem, and guys, they're using those video cameras against you. I will tell you that they can be used for you, just like what we were talking about a while ago. Hey, I want to see my count, and if you'll hang with that, guess what? If we had to appeal it to district court will say, we won't see the video as well. And guess what? You have video of it. Of course, that video's in their custody. Bob, do you trust them to keep video and not tamper with it? Do you think DOC would change video?
Absolutely.
You remember that case out in Norfolk, Bob? I remember the name of that prison. Remember that case? We drove all the way to Norfolk, called them and said, hey, we're going to come look this film on that guy. Drove all the way out there, and then they wouldn't let us. I drove 5 hours to go out there, and they knew it, and they wouldn't let us see that film. And then turned around. I had a copy of that film. I got to watch, and it was so much snow you couldn't hardly see it.
But it wasn't legible. Then all of a sudden, it really turned out clean, and it was
like the day before. So when we're getting ready to go, I'm going out there to testify for this guy, because I'd looked up all the ops. They violated everything. He hadn't violated everything. They violated everything. And then day before, wham! I mean, crystal clear video. And what's funny, Bob, where they stopped the video, it had another good minute and a half on it, so that you didn't get to see the issue they were talking about. So what they did, they made us to look like fools. Only what was funny, I didn't care. That the lawyer called me and said, "Well, did you see this?" I said, I didn't. And I said, that makes it more understandable, but it doesn't change the fact. They put that guy in a place where he had to fight for his life. He was out there by himself. He's trying to get this guy in there. If it went a little bit south on him, okay. I'm not. I do think he did do a little bit more, but again, it's easy to sit in your recliner and go, I think right here is where he should have stopped when he's wore out trying to fight for his life. So again, I told him, let's go. I'm ready to testify. And they played it out to nothing. I mean, and they knew they had that's a setup deal, Bob. That's the way they do. Hey, Bob, I just want to tell everybody that I am running for lieutenant governor. And so that election will be coming up in June. So it's going to come up in June. And if you'll go to J.J. Humphrey's Facebook page, Justin Humphrey Facebook, and look up, I got a neat little song in there. I'm going to repost it today. In fact, I may post it.
Played your song.
Let's see if I can find it, Bob.
Well, we got about 2 minutes.
See if I can find that thing. Let's see here. He wakes with the sun on his prairie land. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Rifle in hand, badge in his heart, cattle on the road. He's the kind of man you'd call your own. J.J. Humphrey, Oklahoma strong. Riding for justice, fixing what's wrong. Cowboy hat high, he's earned his place. With a prison past and a lawman's grace. Stand up proud, lift your voice and say, JJ's riding for us today. From cell block halls to county fields, he's seen the scars this nation yields. Raised on truth, forged by flame, a steady hand in a reckless game. Country roots and a heart that's true. Tough as red dirt, loyal as steel. Not just a talker, he's made of deeds. Oklahoma's future is built on these. He don't
Well, JJ, do you have that so other people could get to it? How do they hear it?
I'll tell you what, I'll repost that today, and I'll put it on Justin Humphrey Facebook. And if y'all will go in there and share that, we're trying to get that out across the state and make it something that everybody.
That's a first class deal, JJ. That's
was funny. It's funny.
Well, hey, I appreciate you being with me today, and I appreciate all the work you do for the corrections. That you go over and above the call of duty. I appreciate it. And folks, we'll see you next week, and we'll be back here at the same time, same place. God bless you.